Good morning and welcome to the Bearded Hooker 3. I'm Walter and today we're going to work on assembling our bag. We made the strap, but I wove that on an inkle loom. Actually I wove that on a rigid heddle loom. However, I did it inkle band style. I will show you how to crochet a strap as opposed to weaving one in case you don't have a loom. In this I just made like random colors to kind of match the style of the bag. So there's that. So without further ado, let's get started. I put my hook here. I need the sewing needle. So essentially when you start assembling the bag, you just pick a spot and go from there. So I will focus in a little more. I did want to show you, actually the first step would be to lay out your pieces so that you can kind of see how you want everything to kind of be together. So if you remember, we have the brown paper underneath as the template, is the shape we're going for. And I have just randomly laid out the pieces in a way that I like that it looked. You could do a color gradient if you wanted to go from like a light to a dark. I wanted to make sure that the pastel colors were mixed in with the vibrant colors, so it kind of all blended in that not matchy kind of way. And so this is the other side, and so this is what we're going to do, is then start here. So what I'm going to do is kind of start here in the middle with this orange piece. Let's see, make it a little closer for you guys. Just use a yarn needle. Here, over this here, and because we left all the hanging extra pieces, we just pick one. I'm gonna go with this orange here, thread the needle, and I'm going to attach it to this spiral that's right to the left of it. So then I want it to overlap a little. I also want it to, let's see, you see on the bottom here how it's overlapping the edge of the paper. Gravity does not like my camera. Stay there. It's not going to. Okay, so I have this bottom bit overlapping this paper, so this actually will overlap the lip on the bottom of the bag, so I want that, but not so much here. And again, it's really all personal preference and what you guys want to do. So I take this and I take this and you just sew it together. And by having it on the template, it's helpful to be able to see, you know, how it's gonna lie. So, and so on the bottom piece, because this is overlapping, you don't have to be as careful, but with the top piece, because I want the orange not to show as the piece that I'm sewing. So when I am going to, I'm gonna go between the stitches to sew this together, so you don't see the orange thread through the top. You just see it through the bottom. Like that. So now it's connected. And we just cut in between the stitches here for the orange thread so you don't see it on the top. And then from here you just go to your next piece. When I was doing this, the thread came out of the needle, but because it's a yarn needle, it's super easy to attach. And then again, because I'm going to go through the green, I'm going through the stitches underneath so that you don't see the orange through the top. And so what I like to do is just have like just loosely attached as you're doing this, so that after I kind of know how the placement is going, that I can go back and then use all those other threads back there to kind of reinforce it so that you get a really strong connection and weave. And then, so the green is going to be over the top of this yellow bit. So, again, I'm going between the stitches. And then I'm going to go back the other way because I want to make sure I have a strong connection. And I'm just picking up like the bottom part of the stitches on the green so you don't see the orange through that. And you pull that tight. And so I have, at that point, have these three pieces connected to each other. And essentially, that's what you do for the entire bag. So then you'll come to a spot like this right here, where there's a gap, and there's a couple of things we could do. You can go back through and you can make additional pieces and be like, boom, I have a flower, covers it up, done. Or we could, because I have a bit of orange here, what I'm gonna do is continue to reinforce this connection between these pieces and move. So I'm essentially just moving the yarn down in a thoughtful way so that I'm able to then utilize this bit of orange to actually crochet a piece that I'm going to connect this with. So now the yarn is here, and I'm going to take my hook, remove the needle. And what we're going to do is take your yarn, find a loop, pull up a loop, slip stitch to kind of anchor it, and then when we lay this out, I'm going to chain one, and then on the other opposite piece, I'm going to pull a loop and slip stitch into that, that piece. And then I'm going to chain two, and I'm going to skip a chain on here and slip stitch into this loop here, and then I'm going to chain three, and I'm going to skip two spaces, two stitches here, and then slip stitch into this piece. And so what we're doing is we're essentially building a netting-ish type of piece that we're then able to fill that in and make it connected. So that also helps to reinforce the bag. It's one of the really great reasons why I really recommend leaving long tails, because this is attached numerous places now, and if we're going to run out of color, which I think we're going to, which is fine, because I have this yellow here that I can finish that piece up with. And typically this type of netting you would do at the end, where you're going to see how you would be attaching this to the bag. So what I'm going to do is actually bind off here, and then the rest of that will fill in as we go towards when the bag sides are done, and we're going to attach it to the bottom of the bag. I'm going to pause it. I'll sew all this together. We'll come back. Hello. I got these 5 pieces together, so I didn't get as much done before I thought I was going to come back. However, this section here, I could do the chain netting here to kind of fill that space in. I could move this blue piece down and kind of overlap it so we have that, but what I want to do is show you how you can just start crocheting pieces together. So here I've gotten this light yellow yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a loop on the blue and in addition to a loop on the yellow piece. And then pull up these loops. Make sure you leave a long tail for weaving in after. Join, and then I'm going to chain 2. So what I like to do is to keep putting the piece flat so I see how it lays flat. And then I'm going to do half double crochets from this side to this side to where the green is. And I'm just going to go into the existing loops that are there. So it'll be at 1 half double crochet in each stitch across. Come to the chain 2 space, I just put 2 half double crochets in there. So if we remember from doing the flower, we did chain 2s between the 3 double crochet groups to kind of make that petal like. So here's the chain 2 space. So I'm going to do 2 half double crochets in that space. You could crochet directly into the chains. I'm not doing that because I just don't want to take the time. So again, I'm getting close to that piece here. So what I'm going to do is, if you can see, if I move my hands out of the way, can I make it closer? That's as close as it gets. So if you see that this last half double crochet overlaps this green here, so I'm just going to slip stitch to where it overlaps, and that kind of connects that piece. So slip stitch there, and now I have this piece here. And then this piece, just slide that underneath. One of the problems with leaving long tails is that they get in the way, which they're doing right now. But it's worth it in the end, I think. So now what I'm going to do is go back the other way, but this time I'm going to catch these loops here to connect it all to this. So essentially it's just crocheting the pieces together. But I think I'm going to do puff stitches to give it just a little bit of texture. So what I'm going to do is flip this over. I'm going to slip stitch up 2 chains, so it's kind of connected. I'm going to make a puff stitch, which is just inserting into the stitch indicated and wrapping around your loop 5 times, closing with a single crochet, chain 2, and then with this chain 2, so now I have the chain 2, and now I want to start attaching this piece. So what I'm going to do is, the first stitch is always the most interesting to attach. So with the chain 2, I'm just going to slip stitch here, and then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do the next puff stitch, skipping 1 half double crochet. And then I just want to see, because I did a chain 2, I want to see how that kind of is lying. In the chain 2, now that I have it here, I'm not loving it. Not loving it. because it's kind of loose. So I'm gonna take that out. And then we did the chain 1 to close the puff stitch, and I'm just gonna do that. So now put it back down, go back through the stitch, do a slip stitch, do my next puff stitch, still skipping one. I think I'm not gonna skip one. I'm gonna go into the next one. 1, 2. So this is really what the essence of freeform crochet is that you are designing and developing as you're going. I'm sure you've all heard the building a plane while it's in the air, and that's kind of what we're doing, right? You kind of have, I had the basic idea down, which is I wanted to do a freeform crochet bag. I knew I wanted to do spirals for the base, and then make a bunch of elements that I connect all together, and that's what I did. So now this is my third puff stitch, slip stitch into that stitch, pull up a loop, and then I'm gonna lay this flat again just to kind of see how it's coming along, and if I like the way that looks better. I do, and what I'm gonna do is continue with the puff stitches, and then this will just come around, and then I'll connect these two pieces here. Let me move my hand out of the way. So here's the puff stitches, and it just gives it like this different feel to the bag. So it's not just going through and connecting everything, which you can do. This is completely just an additional piece that you can do to add, again, more variation and interest and dimension to the bag. Completely unnecessary. If you wanted to, you could just make 40 or 50 spirals, sew them all together, and that could be your bag. You don't necessarily need to do different pieces and sew them together. I like the look of having all the different elements together, the bullion stitches with the spirals, with the flowers, with these three-dimensional pieces. And so when I'm connecting the pieces together, I like to include some of this other pieces so that it gives the bag more dimension to it. But at the end of the day, again, because it's freeform crochet, it is really up to you and what you want to do. So I'm going to continue working on this, and we'll be back when I have some more done. And welcome back. So at this point, I have connected all of the pieces here in one piece. So this is our one piece of fabric. I did do a couple of things. So let me focus on this section here. This orange section, I added, as you can see here, I started with double crochets. This is a triple crochet, half doubles, single crochets, and then I just went back and forth doing front post, back post to give this nice ribbed appearance. So I did that. I did the same thing here with the green. I just kind of followed the edge of this blue flower here, did that piece, this red piece here. I did this, I chained, and then I just kind of crocheted this to kind of fit in that empty spot. And then the other thing, two things that I did is this purple flower here, I crocheted and filled in that spot. And then this pink flower here, I had made at some other point and found mixed in with my stash. So I just stuck it there because I like the way it looked. So when we look at this compared to our template, you can see one that I don't have like everything. No, you can't see because you're not in the film. So like this piece here and this piece here are not connected all the way. However, I was kind of contemplating, do I want to do it now or do I want to wait after I have connected it into a cylinder and attached it to the bottom and the top, and then kind of see what I need to fill in for spaces, and that's what I'm going to do. I do think that there's going to be some additional addition in this area, and I'm unsure right now what I want to do. If I just want to do this, I love this ribbed look, and I might do the ribbed look and kind of bring it around. But what I'm going to do is add the base to this, and then go from there. Pick a side, and then you just, if you remember, we have the first 4 rows are the actual sides of the bag here. So we just hold that on and tack the pieces together, kind of like we were doing, and you just work around, ensuring that you're not stretching either the base or the sides, because you kind of want it, not to have any stretched pieces. And so I'm going to do that next. And when I have the bottom and the top attached, we'll be back. Hello. So we're back. I have added the top strap all the way around, the brim, and the bottom. So now the bag is connected on all sides. And it's connected to the bottom. And you'll notice that I have lots of strings hanging. So I don't typically weave in my ends until after the project has been put together to this point, so I can see that, one, I like the way it all looks. Because in the past I have been like, oh, I don't really like this particular piece here, so I need to move it. Or I need to shift pieces and make them either closer or further apart to kind of make sure that it fits the top and the bottom of the bag. So now the next step is to go through and spots like this is to fill it in, and either you can see how I didn't tighten this up and it's kind of loose, but when I go back through, and now what I'll do is I'll crochet either a small flower to go in there, or I will connect it with the yarn as I'm working the bag. And as I said earlier, I did weave on my rigid heddle loom a strap, and it's just a simple 3-column weave, and I put fringe on the end of it. Typically when you're weaving, you would stick with whatever your main colors were, and that happens to be the light blue and pale yellow. But because the bag itself was such a mix of different shades and tones and jewel tones and pastels, I did go through and add like purple. I added yellow and orange just to give the strap some more color to kind of match the bag itself. Does that need just to be finished and tighten everything up, and we'll be ready to do the liner for the bag. I think our bag is coming along nicely. I'm pleased the way it's looking right now. It's exactly what I had envisioned, with the exception of it's a little bigger than I anticipated. And welcome back. So I have finished weaving in all the loose ends, and I have put yarn in the bag just so it kind of stands up and you can kind of see the finished piece better. I hand sewed the strap to the brim of the bag. And so with that, it really concludes our crochet along for the FreeForm bag. So you can see I just threw some yarn in here. It holds, I think, 2, 4, 6. I have about 8 skeins or hanks of yarn in here. Kind of flip it around, see the bottom. So that's essentially how you do the bag. So as I said earlier, I wove the strap for my bag. You could crochet the strap, just single crochet up and down the length of the strap until you have the width that you want. And by doing the length, it'll really help it prevent the cotton yarn from stretching. And you kind of just go from there. and that's essentially how you do the bag. If you have any questions or would like to see anything else demonstrated, please just do a comment below, let me know. If you like this series, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, anybody who might be interested in this. So freeform crochet is really a great technique to kind of make what you want and do whatever kind of design you want, and you're pretty free to just kind of piece it together and make it work. So again, if I tug on it the lengthwise, it really doesn't stretch and maintains its shape, but if we tug on it widthwise, it stretches a lot. So when you're making your strap, you just want to do the initial chain the length that you want, and then go back and forth with your width. And you could do two rows of one color, switch to another color, switch to another color, switch to another color. You could just make it really random. You could stop halfway up, switch colors, so your stripes vertically are multicolored, like I did, where I have the purple, the yellow, and the orange as you're going along. So thank you again for following along. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I hope I enjoyed making this with you guys. And without further ado, I'm going to say goodbye. And remember, always keep hooking.